Hi, I'm Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And at the beginning of the show, I just want to remind everyone who watches Turn to the Stars to honor that star inside of you, because we are, and you are, each of us a star, a light in this world. And it's so important to remember that every single day. And today is July 22nd, 2014, and I want to thank everyone who was a part of our Psychic and Holistic Fair that was this past Saturday at the Yard Restaurant in Manchester. We had our 25th and 4th year anniversary, and it was the most phenomenal day. There was so much going on, and just such a really great family that we have there of holistic practitioners, readers, and vendors. And a big heartfelt thank you to all of you, and all of you across the world who watch Turn to the Stars. We really appreciate your support. I appreciate your support. And I was inspired by that event to do a show on reincarnation, past lives, and your life this time around, which is the free lecture special presentation that I did during the fair on Saturday. And we had a packed house for this, and it made me really realize that we need an extra room in order for this lecture to be done in the right way. And so on our next fair, September 20th at the Yard, I am going to be having another room that is specially set up to do this presentation. And we are going to be talking a lot more about that in the future, getting closer to the event. But there will be about 4 tickets picked from the audience to have your chart overviewed using this reincarnation, past life, and your life this time around technique of astrology. And it is phenomenal, as you're going to see on today's show. So on special request by a lot of people asking me to do this both online and from the fair, I'm going to do this show today. So anyway, reincarnation, past lives, and your life this time around. Reincarnation is truly, and I have a slide that really, I'm going to go through this. It's actually a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and reincarnation. And a lot of you out there might be saying, that's something they believe in the West. But I believe in this reincarnation because I know that the spirit lives on and on and on, and the soul carries memories. If you are saying to yourself, I don't believe in reincarnation, well, my question to you is, do you ever have moments of deja vu? You visit a place, you go somewhere, and you say, I've been here. I feel like I've been here before. We call that deja vu. But deja vu is very similar to memories. You know, it's a memory of something or a place where you have a feeling that I've been here before. And reincarnation is actually the rebirth of a soul into a body, into a new body, which is this slide. Our universe holds the key to this uncoding of this process of reincarnation. And I was really inspired by when I was on vacation. There was a young woman that came up to me on the beach and asked me, she found out I was an astrologer, and she wanted to know, she said, I have a question. And it's about God and the creation, and creation versus science. And she said to me, which is right? Are we created by God, or is the theory of science the answer to our creation. And I looked at her and I said, you know, after studying astrology for 16 years, and this question has come up for me in my life, I said, I believe both are right. And I view the sun, the light that we see every morning that rises in the east and sets in the west, as our vital light of creation. And I view, as an astrologer, the planets as the helpers, or the angelic beings that, along with the stars and with the asteroids, the comets that are in our universe, the sun is the center, is the core, is the light of our beingness, the light of our creation. And astrology is a science as well as a study of creation, a study of life. It shows the map of our soul, which is shown by the planets. And I'm going to really go into this much further in today's show, so I hope you will stay tuned with us, because this all methodically fits together like a puzzle. And which leads me to talk about the universe that is inside of us. I've discovered that there is a universe inside of us which matches the universe that is around us. And our DNA pattern matches the same pattern as our universe's DNA pattern shown in this picture. So this picture right here is a picture of what our universe looks like as it spins through the galaxy. This picture is actually a NASA picture, which provides the first view of our solar system's tail. Now I want you to remember this picture. Notice that it appears to move in a cylindrical pattern from the front to the tail. And at the front we see the light of the sun, and the sun, everything revolves around the sun. All the planets in our universe revolve around the sun. And the next picture that I have to show you is a picture of our solar system with the sun and the planets moving through time. Now the cylinder above that you're looking at, this cylinder, shows the reincarnation cycle, which is the same as what NASA's picture looks like. It shows the same cylinder of life. It demonstrates the sun's path by the white line, that white straight line that's right down the middle, and the planet's movements around it are represented by the colored loops. So the spirit of creation, which I call the sun, is the heart and the center, and all its helpers, the planets, follow. This is a picture of our path, our universe through the galaxy. And it is very, very interesting to see the same type of cylinder picture as NASA took of our universe. And I'm going to keep on demonstrating to you. So this picture right here is a picture of our solar system's pattern, and it is actually, as you heard me say before, the same as our DNA pattern. The patterns of our lives from lifetime to lifetime, that is, reincarnation, holds the memory of where we have been. Now look at the pattern of the human DNA. I matched it up in these pictures so you could see that it looks almost exactly the same. It really does look exactly the same exact pattern. The outer universe matches our inner universe of being. And the next slide is, if you turn the cylinder that you saw in the picture prior and look at the front of it, it looks like the picture on the left. This is actually the picture of the very front of that cylinder, okay? And that picture is actually what we see when we draw up and create a birth chart. This is how astrologers learned how to create charts. The universe showed us this. So when we create a birth chart, it is a picture of where all the planets are at in a particular point and place in time. So a picture of a birth chart is actually a snapshot of a DNA pattern carried forward. And we know that DNA is actually our inner makeup. And it is the patterns of memory that are from our family, from our ancestors, from our chemical continuation of life. And the next slide I have is what I call the circle of life continues. And I ask, what's in your DNA? So at the time of your conception, what was in your mother's evolved DNA, meaning what she was experiencing at the time of her pregnancy is the DNA that the miracle of the creation of you stemmed from. So through the creation of a chart from the exact month, day, year, time, and place of your birth, we can examine the story of your DNA. Life begins at conception, not at birth. Your birth chart contains this story. Your story is a very special story. Every one of us. That's why I say your light is so important to the whole world. None of us are here alone. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that picture again that we just saw. And that picture is actually, there is a what we call a logarithmic pattern or proportioned pattern of DNA development that begins at conception. And the life pattern begins at the time of the conception and continues on through the proportional development through gestation, birth, childhood, maturity, transcendence, till death. At death, we experience the same pattern as we did at birth, and the cycle continues on once again for the soul. So now I would like you to concentrate on the pictures to the right as I talk, because the pictures that you're seeing are actually the inner picture of what our outer universe demonstrates, but this is actually what happens at the beginning of human life. Notice the appearance of the egg. It looks just like the sun. That's the very first picture in the diagram. When the sun and the moon come together, which is the father and the mother, the growth of form begins starting with the development of the heart, the spine, the skin, and more. If the sun is the light of creation, the light of vitality, and the moon, and that's the father, and the moon is the mother, who is the container for the builder of form, then it creates the vessel for the growth of life. The heart, the spine, the skin, and more begin to develop. Then we look at the next picture. The lungs, the arms, all dual parts, begin to form, and we see that in the third picture, which is the planet Mercury, planet's Mercury's energy. And then the throat, the neck, the kidneys, which in medical astrology, Venus takes rulership over those parts of the body, and those parts begin to develop. The head, we see in the fifth picture, the head has formed, and the head is ruled by Mars. The body expands, which is Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our universe, in our solar system, and it rules over expansion. The skin and the bones begin to really, further develop through Saturn's energy. And then the connecting of the whole vibratory current within the body, which is Uranus. And that's the energy of the planet Uranus as it is demonstrated in our solar system. The lymphatic system is ruled over by Neptune, and that develops that really develops in the last part of the gestation, like the second part of gestation of a human being. And then birth occurs, which is Pluto, the farthest out planet. Pluto is birth transformation. So now I'd like to show you the next picture of the appearance of the planets closest to the sun. We see the sun. And before I go into that, I want to just say that we are the individual lights of recreation of our universe. Our DNA is the same as our universe. I just wanted to remind you of that because, as I said before, the picture that our universe demonstrates and shows to us through the microscope is exactly the same as the picture of our inner universe, our inner makeup. So here we see physically by location in our universe, the sun is the center. The moon is the closest body. We see that body is the closest to us here on Earth, the moon. The sun, the planets that are the closest to it, we can see are Mercury, which is to the top, just to the right of the sun. That planet is closest to the sun. The next planet by physical location and closest to the sun is Venus. Now remember what I talked about just a couple minutes ago about how the human being forms. The next planet is us here on Earth. And it's kind of off this picture a little bit, but Earth is actually between Venus and Mars, and the moon is the closest to us. The moon is the demonstration or the energy of the mother, the builder of form, the vessel that through which we form with. And the moon resides closest to us on Earth. Very interesting, right? The next planet out is Mars. And then beyond Mars is Jupiter. And then beyond Jupiter is Saturn. And beyond Saturn is Uranus. Beyond Uranus is Neptune. And the farthest planet out from us is Pluto. So all of what I just talked about physically is actually was demonstrated by the form and the growth from the very beginning of the human being, from beginning to birth, from conception to birth. And so reincarnation, as you see on that picture with the planets, can we see that picture one more time with the planets? So reincarnation, the cylinder of life, our astrological life in time is lived through a symbolic cylinder beginning at conception. As we age, the cylinder fills up with memories and experiences of life through life and the unfolding of it. Planets register at certain levels of the cylinder and aspects connect them through the timeless center of the horoscope. The movements of the planets spiraling through the cylinder make a pattern similar to the genetic molecular DNA. And so let's continue to build on this. So each planet, on the next slide that we're going to look at here, each planet in our birth chart carries the memory of our past lives, and it tells us where our soul has been before. For instance, if you were born while the sun was at 28 degrees in the constellation of Gemini, we would know that you carry forward within you the memory of a lifetime lived as a man in 7,239 BC, before Common Era, or before Christ, as some people might say. And this was the age of Gemini this year. And it was the time of the Mesolithic tribal cults. And it was the time when languages were developing, villages were forming, and it was a time of the Tanis cults. Gemini is the ruler over language, over the operations of the way we speak and the way we rationalize things. And so the age of Gemini, your soul would date back to this time. And there would have been the beginning of a development through the light of your spirit, this energy of Gemini. So there's a very perfect symbology connected with this. This information leads us to an investigation into your sun sign in Gemini and how the story of your spirit, the story of your health and your well-being, and also into why you express yourself and why you shine and are recognized in the world in the manner that you are. So each planet, if we look at the next slide, what we start to want to do is to investigate where your soul has been before and how your mother's experiences while she was pregnant with you affects your life. And we look at what's in your DNA. Most important at this time in your life, we want to investigate where you're at this time in your life and what's most important now. And your chart does reveal all of this. And what we did in the lecture on Saturday was, what I did was I asked for a volunteer to volunteer their birth information so that I could look at their chart. And everybody in the room had their hand up. So that made it hard for me to make a decision on who I should choose. So someone said, Kurt had his hand up. So we did look into his chart. So what I'd like to do for the rest of the show today is look at the chart of one of my clients who I've used this technique with. And I have a chart that I'm going to put on the screen. There it is. And this is the chart of Kathy Mercury, as you can see. And Kathy's been a client for a long time. And it was really a life-changing experience to do this new vision of understanding the life process with her. And in this chart we see that the mother, her mother, was actually the one who really wished for her. And this has all been confirmed, by the way, that what I'm telling you. Her mother was the one who wanted her and was responsible for bringing her into life and creating her. We can see whether it's the mother or the father through the birth chart, because as you saw before, the birth chart is actually an exact snapshot of what this particular soul carried into this lifetime. We also see by this chart that just before she was conceived, her mother was going through some very painful experiences with recovering from something that really she couldn't do anything about. Her mother is a very creative person, a person who works very hard, very interested in her business, and she was, in a very creative place, but she was being held back because, and it really wasn't her, anything that was her fault. It was the company was going through a transformation that she worked for, and there was a lot of loss. A lot of people were being laid off and let go. And so she was in pain because of all of this transition. And we see that in the DNA in the mother before she was even conceived. And Kathy actually confirmed this with her mother. And she told her the story, and it's actually helped Kathy to really understand something about her life and why she seems to or tends to run into obstacles when she's in trying to create something new or build something new. And and it's emotionally very hard for her because this was actually what was part of the beginning of her development. It was actually happening with her mother before she was born. And her mother was, she was conceived. She was conceived. We see the conception point of her chart, that she was conceived out of love. And then we look at that and we say, you know what? The mother and father were really hoping for a boy. And she has the signature of that in her chart. That's the Saturn opposite Venus. They even had a boy's name picked out for her. And the Saturn, which we see in the chart, which is exactly opposite Venus, is the signature of that type of difference. And I wouldn't say difference. It's just that, Kathy is a female, but they were really hoping for a boy. We also see right after, at the very beginning, right after the conception, that the mother was really interested in furthering her education, and she was en route to do that, and was very excited about her continuation of education. And we also see that the mother was a very religious person, and very, very accustomed and very interested in expanding in that area. She really believed in the beauty of our world. She really wanted to investigate further. But we also see that Jupiter in this part of the chart where she's just newly pregnant and may not have even known it, that there was an understanding that was already beginning to develop. She may have unconsciously known she was pregnant and internally felt very, very happy about what was coming. And we also see that she, as soon as she found out she was pregnant, which is the midheaven of the chart, that she somehow had a division. Wasn't sure whether, she wanted to, how she wanted to present that information. But she did embrace it, and she did begin to, express that, and, she was very proud of that, that she was going to be a mother. And we can go on and on and on, and there has been, if you look at, I just want to kind of overview, if you look at the bottom of this chart, you can see that where all the planets register in this chart actually are a timetable which have been confirmed with Kathy of events that unfolded in her life at particular ages. And so, there is a whole story, a life story that unfolds through the interpretation of this chart and through the conversation that I had with Kathy, which was almost a 3-hour reading. And there's, as you saw before, if we could come back here and just leave the chart for later. We're just about at the end of today's show, and I just want to let all of you know that your birth chart holds the memory of your soul, of your incarnations from past life, of all those past lives, and it actually holds the story of your life, and it is an incredible tool for life and living. So everyone, thank you so much for watching Turn to the Stars. I appreciate your support, and remember, turn to the stars. You'll find your answers there. Take good care, and I'll see you next week.